they're doing to the country what is happening to thousands upon thousands of people in the tech industry. They're stripping it for parts and trying to wholesale the value.
Kind of like a private equity acquisition.
Yes. That's awful. When it comes to people that depend on that shit, it's really awful.
I mean, how often has private equity actually benefited the company that it purchased?
So the Target boycott for like 40 days. We're not built like they were built back in the 60s and the 70s and late 50s.
Do you mean that you don't think people are capable of doing that? That's what you mean?
No. So the reason why the civil rights movement...
Target boycott is not the answer.
Right. Well, it's part of the answer.
Yeah.
But we're not built like that.
Burn the targets down. That's the answer. Deface the targets.
So there's a clip of the Tesla dealership being burnt to the ground in France, right? Mm-hmm. So the hustle and game in Europe is different than our hustle and game in the States.
If this shit was happening in France, they'd already have heads rolling. Let's just say it.
Right. But I was also contrasting that to what happened during the peak of the civil rights movement. I grew up in Harlem. Like, there were burnt down buildings. There were things like just done. We're not built the same way as our ancestors. I'm not built the same way my mom was. I'm not built the same way that my grandparents were.
Right. And there's a reason for that, right?
Yeah. And I'm going to speak as a black man that grew up with grandparents that fought in the civil rights movement. My mom went to segregated schools. The struggle they went through is different than my struggle. Their complacency is a consequence. We're dealing with the consequence of their complacency right now. So the civil rights movement should never take in a breather.
Gotcha.
Because it wasn't so much as to just for me to go to schools that had white kids and black kids and Hispanics and stuff like that. We're just not built the same way. The complacency is the problem. And right now we're dealing with a situation where the people that are on the quote unquote left or the non-wackos
mm-hmm.
have sucked out all the oxygen in the room. And nobody knows how to respond, So for me, it's a moment. We talked about this with George Floyd. It's a moment that I hope that people can remember after they're uncomfortable for a little bit. It's kind of how I feel. I feel we're there now. So that was just my brain dump. We just started recording and I was listening to James Brown, and it just kind of...
This man will make your liver quiver. This man will make your bladder splatter. This man will freeze your knees. If you will, let's all welcome the world's godfather of soul, soul brother number one, James Brown. James Brown.
It brought up memories of things and stories my parents told me about their struggle. What you got?
So it's interesting, right? Because there's this stupid, maybe it's not stupid, but there's the phrase that keeps going around the internet lately, especially on Reddit, where it's, tough times create tough men, easy times create weak men, something along those lines.
Right.
And it's interesting because somebody, I don't remember where I saw it, but had kind of made the point that it's the people who are kind of cozying up to the fascism and authoritarianism now are people who have never had to experience that themselves.
But they'll be the first ones to slaughter.
Sure. But you know what I'm saying? Part of the reason, and that somebody was basically saying that and I didn't really get this because they were basically saying that the impending recession, even during Joe Biden, that like the tough times under Joe Biden made people more willing to embrace authoritarianism because that felt safer than democracy, which
I don't know if I buy that altogether, to be honest, to be like super clear with you.
yeah, I'm not sure that I buy that bit either.
I think it was a power move. Like I'm going to address a comment because of a bad title and a bad thumbnail that I've been holding close to my chest. We understand the economy. If you listen to the whole episode, you're being a marketer.
I was wearing my marketing hat a little too heavily.
We gotta stop. We gotta stop doing that.
And that's to be fair, right? I responded to the comments and I said, "Hey, you know what? You're absolutely right. The thumbnail and title were both misleading, so I have updated that. Appreciate the feedback."
Okay.
I know, but this is for everybody else that isn't going to take the time to go. So I'm not a fucking asshole. All right.
He's a marketer.
Yeah, look at the jacket, right? My marketing jacket.
I think that this is it all depends on when you want to start the history, right? It's a 50, 60-year plan. And the plebs are losing.
Mm-hmm.
The unfortunate part is the people that the plebs are trying to protect, in spite of, will suffer.
Right.
I shared a video. Hopefully, we can put a link somewhere here or here of Puerto Rico. Right.
It'll be down. I'm not pointing to my crotch, just to be clear.
Okay.
It's going to be down here because that's where links outside of. Well, actually, no. If it's a YouTube video, then I might be able to put it up there.
Okay. That video is kind of indicative of a potential future this country has.
Puerto Rico, a US territory but not a state, is the poorest, most unequal part of the United States, and it's in freefall. A 20-year economic crisis, austerity, hurricanes, earthquakes, and a pandemic hit the island hard.
The way that the United States is treating Puerto Rico is how rural, non-GDP impacting counties, states will be affected by the things that are happening right now. In my humble and gracious opinion.
Well, that's what I think a lot of people maybe don't understand about several of the federal agencies and programs that are being hacked to death currently.
Right.
Is that it's not, it's like, oh, it's DEI, woke, blah, blah, blah. But it's like a lot of that stuff actually is helping the rural areas that don't have the funding, that don't have access to things, to get additional funding, to get, materials, like the things that they need to be able to educate their kids. And it seems like a lot.
Let me pause. I'm sorry, not to interrupt you. It's a long video. Most people, our attention spans for whatever reason are not designed to engage in that stuff. But like, you take Puerto Rico out and you put Kentucky. You take Puerto Rico out, you put Louisiana, Missouri, or you take Caswell County in North Carolina, Buncombe County in North Carolina. Like, that's your potential future. So I just want to make sure I'm more specific about what I'm saying.
Yeah, and right, North Carolina is already. I mean, here in Wilmington, right? They have the bridge, the big bridge, Memorial Bridge that goes across the river, and they just got done doing a repair job because the project to replace the bridge, which is ultimately what needs to happen, has been delayed repeatedly. Well, now, thanks to Elon Musk and Doge, they've paused the funding that was supposed to go towards that project now. So they've had to, again, delay the replacement of the bridge project for like the third time. And I mean, Asheville, right, which is just decimated by Helene, and that whole area now is losing access to FEMA. They're losing access to other agencies that were there to help, right?
Huh. I don't have answers or solutions for the problems that are like super complex.
No, but we're not supposed to, right? Donald Trump said that he was going to fix it all on day one. Right? The war in Ukraine was going to be over on day one.
I don't want to get caught in that trap. I don't. Here's what I would propose. Forget how I feel about Donald Trump. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Right? I've not changed that position. I've said years ago he's a Hitler Mussolini type person. You, my friend, actually said that's kind of far. Like,
yeah, I probably did. That sounds right.
And I was like, nah, dude, those are the same characteristics of Mussolini, Hitler, Castro. And that's a slippery slope. And I'm paraphrasing the multiple conversations we had about the same topic.
Yeah. I've
been very consistent in how I feel about him. Months ago, like a few months ago, I said, as a business person, I'm a capitalist. I'm a free market guy. I don't think you want a CEO running government. Like, that is my honest personal opinion.
Any CEO, let alone this CEO.
Especially a shitty business person.
With an extremely shitty track record.
Right. Like, I would not hire Donald Trump. I would not hire Elon Musk. Now you can get at me in the comments. And I can point you to various reasons why I would not hire either one of them as an employee. They're pathetic. They're not the person you want running your business. As a business owner, I would not hire them as employees because their history of employment is ass. And the way they're trying to strip up, as a tech guy, they're doing to the country what is happening to thousands upon thousands of people in the tech industry. They're stripping it for parts and trying to wholesale the value.
It's kind of like a private equity acquisition.
Yes. That's awful. For when it comes to people that depend on that shit, it's really awful.
I mean, how often has private equity actually benefited the company that it purchased, right? I was just reading the other day about why Joanne Fabrics is going out of business because they were acquired for $1.6 billion, a private equity firm. But the private equity firm doesn't take out a loan in their own name to acquire that company. They take out a loan in Joanne Fabrics' name to acquire Joanne Fabrics. How the fuck does that make any sense? I don't understand that for the life of me. And then saddle the company that you just bought with the debt that you just used to acquire the company that you bought.
And strip it for parts.
And then you sell off the parts, and then you're like, oh, wow, we're $1 billion in debt. No shit, you took on $1.6 billion in debt when you acquired them.
But I also believe that companies should die.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, right. Some companies should die. I'm not right. But part of the issue is also that Joanne Fabric had been extremely successful up until that point, right? Like their track record, they had no debt up until they were acquired by private equity. And so it's not always the case, right, that a private equity company comes in and acquires an extremely successful company that has no problems. And I'm not saying that Joanne Fabrics doesn't have any problems.
A good contrast would be like any company that Warren Buffett and Berkshire like eventually acquire, right?
Sure.
So there are good companies on the books, and there are struggling companies on the books, and most investors aren't like Warren. But that's the anomaly.
Yeah.
In our current economy,
literally the anomaly.
Yeah. In our current economy, or recent economy, the last 15 years. Well, actually, let me go. That's not true.
Go back even further.
Yeah, I go back to the .com bubble.
Mm-hmm.
We have had this need to create bubbles. I've been talking about AI. Microsoft just put out in their recent investors call, they've made no money off of AI,
right?
And they're clawing back their investment. I've been saying that well before that was a thing.
Yeah. Do you think Sam Altman is looking to do the same thing now?
Well, no. Back to politics, and I've been trying not to talk about politics because, or even the economy, but God damn the shit show.
Yeah. I forgot to check. Is today a tariffs day or a no tariffs day?
I
I mean, that's not, I'm sorry, but even if you think that this is all just posturing, how can you look at that? And right, there's this belief that the stock market is not reacting to the instability in the White House and the tariff situation, but rather the cutting of public spending. That this is the economy going through basically withdrawal symptoms from cutting government spending, and that eventually we'll get clean of it, and then we'll be sober and we can all prosper together moving forward with the government not spending any money.
I don't know what's going on. I'm not.
This is literally shit that I have read. People you're exactly right. This is just, once we cut off the government teat, then we'll be good. It's like, okay.
I think it's 17 states that are very dependent on the on
federal funding.
On federal funding.
Do you happen to have any clue how most of those states tend to vote at a federal level?
I'm gonna guess they're.
Would you consider them red states?
They're maybe possibly red states. I don't.
I'm sorry. I'm doing that thing where you start something and I just insert joke here and I completely derail you. You were saying that you wanted to get back to politics, but you haven't been wanting to talk about politics or the economy. But holy crap.
What a shit show.
Yeah.
I actually had a phone call yesterday, a conversation this morning with people I'm pretty confident may have voted for this administration.
Mm-hmm.
Remember how I said after the election, I was kind of dumbfounded that I forgot that we're a racist and misogynistic country?
Sure. Yes, I do remember that. Yes.
Now I'm meeting people where leopards have
eaten their faces. And how does that make you feel?
Like, whoa. It's legit. That's my response. Like, whoa, we had this conversation months ago. What are we doing? Like, why are you complaining?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to mind my black business. And, like, I will more than likely be okay. But you're complaining about things that you purposely did to yourself.
Right. Like, you voted for this. Whether you realized it at the time or not, whether you believed it at the time or not, you were given plenty of warning. Like, it was all out there if you chose to do your own research, right?
God, I hate that phrase.
I know you do, but I use it all the time because I hate it too, and it's stupid. Like, it's, don't trust scientists. Trust RFK Jr. sitting in a Steak and Shake telling you that measles is basically the same as chickenpox.
It used to be when you and I were kids, everybody got measles. And measles gave you lifetime protection against measles infection. The vaccine doesn't do that. The vaccine is effective for some people for life, but many people, it wanes.
We're fucked. Like this fucking country is fucked for a hot minute here at least.
Here's what I kind of think is going to happen. We're going to be like, isolationism is a bad theory,
but it's going to happen, right? Like, that's where we're moving towards, I assume.
You know what I'm kind of thinking? It's hopeful that if the stock market goes down another 1,000 points,
yeah,
they'll impeach him.
Why? Why would the stock market going down 2,000 points be the thing that finally convinced them to impeach him?
I think it'll be the gag reflex of Citizens United. So the lobbyists, which are predominantly funded by those people, will regurgitate and just like can't take the swallow on this one. They're like, now we're good. I think you've had enough time, and you're fucking everybody. That's what it's very pie in the sky.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it happening. I would love to see that happen. I would love to see that man marched out of the fucking White House in handcuffs, but I don't think I'm ever going to get to see that. Or under a sheet.
I'm glad you said it, not me. Because I will fuck Cash Patel up.
When he dresses up as a KKK member for Halloween this year. That was... Just kidding. No, he's going to be dead. Fucking dead. There's no way this motherfucker lives another 4 years. Right? Right?
I can't see it.
I don't see it either.
Yeah, he's in that Hitler, Mussolini, Chavez, fucking like Castro level. I think Fumigito from Peru, like that level of like, no, I don't want that. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like midterms can't get. I want the Democrats to shut the government down. Fuck it, just like go, let it go.
You can't fund this government, and then continue to complain about it. I.e., that you can't do both. So, and I mean, any Democrat that votes for this,
John Fetterman,
yeah,
fuck that guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole, like, oh, maybe if I play enough ball, then I can get the stuff that I want from, like, it's what everybody does, right? Whether it's like, oh, maybe I can suck up just enough that I can get Trump to give me what I want. But it's like, you're selling your fucking soul to get what you want, even if it's not for you, even if what you want is for your constituents. Like, those are that's
not even the case though, right? We look at all these like weekend like country club members in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Whenever I see a person that like reps the GOP real hard, I just want to slap the shit out of them. They say the dumbest shit. You got Josh Stein on the ropes. So like, well, we want you to not to argue against President Trump's. Man, fuck President Trump.
Right.
Like we don't want you. We're gonna like neuter you.
You're talking about Jeff Jackson.
Yeah. So they're trying to strip away the powers from the AG of the state.
Right.
To coddle this guy.
Yeah.
And fuck that all day.
Whenever
I see these little fucking like plaid suit wearing bitches, I just want to spit on them.
I just don't. Right, because I don't know. It's irritating, and we've talked about this. You can't fight any of this with actual logic, right? There's no sense of shame, there's no sense of logic, there's no sense of critical thinking, and there's no sense of hypocrisy. It doesn't matter, right? There's always a way for people to twist themselves out of it, or to just go la 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 la. I don't hear you, right? Like
I should have sent this link to you. It's not. It's critical thinking is the gateway to the loss of deductive reasoning, right? So I've read like several articles that are saying that AI, social media, and a couple other things are making people dumb, right? Critical thinking gives you the pathway to question the thing. Deductive reasoning helps you to draw a conclusion, basically, in layman's terms. And if we have so many people like that forget how to do that, we're in we're in a world of hurt.
Yeah.
So I started reading. Once I read the last article, I was like, I need to read a book. I haven't read a book in like 2 months or 4 months. I need to start reading more books. So it's a personal weekly goal to read like 30 minutes a day. And I think that's the part where whether you talk about what they hope, pray, and are probably going to convince people to accept of reducing education.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the video about Puerto Rico is and could be a future of this country.
To ensure that Wall Street and the vultures got paid, La Junta imposed a brutal austerity program on Puerto Rico that hiked tolls, water and electricity costs, lowered the minimum wage, cut labor protections and removed sick days, slashed education funding which led to mass school closures, gutted pensions and healthcare, cut infrastructure funding and restricted access to food assistance.
Like, hands down. Like, do you watch the whole thing, or do you?
No,
watch
I
it?
did. I only got to watch the first few minutes of it, but I am planning on watching the rest of it.
Watch the rest of it, and then replace Puerto Rico.
I'm not
Which
gonna watch the rest of it.
You should.
No, I'm just kidding.
What we're doing to Puerto Rico as a country is foul. The outcome is completely negative. Case in point, they cut millions of dollars from their educational system.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a study done that says that for every $1 million they spent, there was a $1.6 million gain for the country, right?
Yeah.
A good business person says that is an investment, not even it may be an expense,
But it's an investment.
It's an investment.
Like you as the government are not in the business of making money.
Right.
Right?
That's your job.
You do not need to generate a profit. You need to generate a return on the investment. And that return should be ending up in the people's pockets, basically, or, in them themselves, ultimately. This is not, I'm spending $1 billion here. Well, I'm not getting compensated for that directly, so that's not worth it. Like,
$1 million for 1.6 is a good ROI.
All day.
Like, what are we talking about? Like,
It's a 60% return on investment.
like, what math are you, like, the average business can't even get a free cash flow after expenses of 12%.
Yeah. Thanks for checking out the Chris and Andre show. Remember, unlike yourself in middle school, those like and subscribe buttons aren't going to hit themselves. And be sure to leave a comment with your favorite part of the show or a topic you'd like us to cover in the future. As always, stay salty.